So I was like, let's do a live and talk all things about being creative on Substack. We're also going to talk about generating readers from off the platform as well, because Megan does some pretty cool and quirky things, and I want to chat to her about that. So welcome, Megan. How are you doing?
Good, Claire. Thank you. I love when we get to chat. We always have so many good conversations, and I'm excited for this one.
Oh, it's so nice. I know I can't remember when we did the podcast, but I feel like it maybe was last year when I was launching the book.
I
I
think it
thought,
was the fall.
fine. Oh, fall. Okay. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. Autumn
Yeah.
if you're in the
Yeah.
UK. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
um, so one of the things that I love to do and has been in my messaging since day dot has been this kind of provocation around staying creative on Substack. So not boxing ourselves in, not telling ourselves this is what we do forever and a day, to think about things differently and to think about things creatively. And I have a course called Your Beautiful Digital Substack Magazine because I saw the potential for a reframe for folks to see it as a digital magazine, a digital publication. Quite often in the arts, we'll be sent one. I think it's on a platform called ISSU. It's interesting, but sort of click through like a magazine. And there
Yeah.
is a bit of distance in that because it's not physical print, but it is still a really nice idea. So the course kind of frames all of that idea up. And what I find with my participants is there's a real breakthrough in understanding, don't mind the dog, as to what they're doing in the curatorial style. So they have, come here, Stella. No, she just wants to be with my husband. They've had real breakthroughs around not just the topics that they want to talk about, but how it all fits together, magazine style. And I always
Yeah.
use magazines like Breathe magazine or those type of kind of soulful creativity and well-being magazines as kind of examples for people to dive in and think about themselves as an editor. So then, obviously, I'm in that space, love that work, that's all gorgeous. And then I see a note from Megan. She's already gone and created a magazine for my Substack publication. I was just mind blown. I was like, what? Like, how have you done this? It's just so amazing. So I wanted to ask you to just walk us through that process, like the creativity of deciding that this was going to become a magazine and the order of that. Like, did you write it and then curate it and edit it and then decide, or was it always in your mind, like as something like a goal that you wanted to get towards? How did it all come about, Megan?
Yeah. So, I mean, it goes way, way back. So, I always loved the idea of a magazine. Like in seventh grade, for whatever reason, my school had a project, and that was like the seventh grade project is that you got to make a magazine. And I always remembered that, like, that was my favorite thing. And I was really sad because when I was going into high school, we moved, and I thought that we lost the magazine in transit. Just this past year, we actually found it, and it was definitely not the same as I thought it was. Like, definitely not as good as I thought it was. But it really spurred so much in me. So by the time I was 18, I had started my first business, and I started it as a blog. But it was when, like, you didn't know who was reading your blog. It was right at the beginning. And I always loved that act of writing, but I had a really hard time on the curating the images, and I wanted it to be a magazine. So by college, I was in a magazine. I had a magazine that I was working on there. And so it's always been a through line for me. But like you said, I feel like until I found Substack, I didn't find a place that I fit. I like love curating. My previous work was a personal stylist. And so I love that visual and like color element and all of that. And I just, in Instagram, it felt like you post and then it dies, right? And it you curate, yeah, you could curate your feed, but it's not the same as like delivering somebody something that's full and long form and all of that. And so I came to Substack the same as what you were saying, is like a place where I could just be creative, no labels. The fact that you could do so many different things, I could do something different every time. I didn't feel like I had to create for the platform. So I started, it was, I think, like February. And so I had just started writing and playing, and I had already been podcasting. So then by September, I just kept over all these years having that calling of, "Oh, I just really love a magazine. But like, do I want to make a magazine?" And then feel the pressure of the deadline of I have to create all this stuff. And so it was the end of September, and I was like, I'm just going to take everything I had written in September, and I'm going to go into Canva, and I just want to curate something that's beautiful because I've always loved this. And so that was it. So it wasn't like I created anything special for it. All I did was use one of their templates and create something that felt visually good to me. by using what I had already written. And I thought that was a nice deliverable too, because we're always getting so many, emails, posts, all of the things. And I thought, how nice would that be for my readers to be able to say, kind of, here's a beautiful recap. And if you only want to come to this every month, you can, if you don't want to constantly check in on what's coming through the pipeline at real time. So that was how it started. And then, I know we're going to get into how it evolved.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm breaking this down for myself. So you created it on Canva, and then obviously you could have made that a PDF, right? But you went ahead and printed it. Did you just print one copy? Is it for you? Do you print copies to then send to people? How does that part work?
Yeah, so once I create the PDF, I download it and I do put it on Substack. I put each image
Mhm.
in a row and then that gets emailed to my list. But then after I did it a couple times, I just felt that calling of like wanting to physically hold something. So yes, I do. I have them with me here. I print them from Canva, and it's just so nice when I got the first one. It's different when you hold it. And it's like, wow, I really created something. Sometimes I feel like when your writing lives online, it it lives there, right? It doesn't feel as real. So once I printed the first one, it was just for me. It was just because I wanted to hold it. I wanted to have that physical marker. And then I started doing it a couple times, and more people started to notice like the concept of it. And so I have found a way now that I plan on my next one offering it as print on demand. So not
Oh,
only will I print it for
amazing.
myself, but then if my
Yeah.
readers, like I'm trying to go more analog, if my readers are like, I love Substack, I want to hear what you have to say, but I don't want to constantly feel tied to a device, my thought
Mhm.
was they can choose to have it printed and sent to them instead. So it's a little bit of everything.
I love that. And I think so. This has been really curious for me because I've been on this journey. So I'm in a 10-year container that I've created myself where I'm going to write a book every single year for 10 years. And I'm in year 5 of that now. And so through that, the reason I've done it this way is because there's so much to experience and there's so much that we can move through in terms of our own sense of the physical. So that's what fascinates me about it. And also the process of it all. So my Substack book that I wrote with Russell is on a platform called Draft to Digital. And so it automatically gives us 50% off the profits each after it's taken its cut and after obviously the platforms have done the platforms thing. So I just got an email today and it's like Amazon this, Apple Books this, and then some other things that I've never heard of that Russell will definitely know. And it just feels magical to me that people can just print that on demand or get the e-reader to their device and then they sort it all out for us. And we have met now, but obviously he's in LA, I'm on the Northumberland coast, and we've made all of this happen. And that is for as long as people want to order the book. And I'm just like, wow, like that's so cool. And I didn't know any of that a year ago. So I think it is really lovely to lean into these processes that we have, these inklings we have, like you did, and just go, I wonder what, I wonder if, I wonder, and then because we've got this beautiful relationship with our readers, we can just see how that lands, can't we? And if they're really into it and up for it, then that's gorgeous. So you've got a way to print it now, and they'll probably go to a checkout page and then they'll be able to order it and then it'll just arrive within a few days. Is that how it works?
Yep. Yeah. So when I physically print mine, I've been printing them through Canva, but the
Yeah.
integration I found is with a website called Lulu. Are you familiar?
Oh yeah,
Lulu.
Lulu's great. Yeah,
Okay,
so
yeah.
good.
So I've
Yeah.
never used it, but I've heard good things, and
Mhm.
that's how you can like use the API. I use Thrivecart. So I just
Yeah.
like created a page on Thrivecart. It'll integrate and then yeah, it's supposed to just ship it. I haven't tested it yet. I started setting everything up. And it's pretty seamless from my Canva like creation. The only thing you have to do is change your homepage or your cover. You have to do a different version of that. But other
Yeah.
than that, it's pretty seamless, like from that workflow perspective of I don't have to do extra in order to offer it. And then, like you said, they fulfill everything and you get paid out on it. And my
Yeah.
bigger concern was just offering it less than the, money making aspect of it. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And I think it is interesting, isn't it, to lean into that money making aspect because it's not like you're going to lose money by the sounds of it. Like it should
yeah.
cover your time to have pulled it all together, depending on how many have sold. Like hopefully it's like a nice price that people feel like, yes, I do want that in my home. And that all just feels like a really beautiful exchange with your readers. I just think it's so clever and so beautiful. Well done.
Thank you. Well, the other thing that I wanted to say, two sides of it too, is what I think is cool about like mixing it with Substack is that like the way I do it, I don't have the full article in here that I wrote just because it'd be too much. Like, I don't like to
Okay.
read something and have so many words. So I put a QR code. And so, what I think is so smart about the integration of the two is you're getting the SEO, right, from Substack. By having your full post live on Substack, it makes it easier. You can have the video and audio element. So, somebody can approach that and it's fully accessible. And also, then you're giving them the print version. So, like, you're able to be found, but you're able to meet people where they're at. You're able to change it. And so, like you were saying about the book concept, I'm thinking about writing a book as well. I've been working on this thesis I've spoken with you about. And I've gone back and forth of like, do I sit down and do I write it and then make it print on demand? Well, I feel like with this concept, and this was kind of a good trial run of it gets to be a yes and, right? I can have it live and post on Substack. You can direct people from this because I do the QR codes to a paid article, right? So like
Mhm.
you can have other ways to spur your business and growth, and you can be found and you can meet people where they're at. So I feel like there's a really cool integration there because of Substack where we can get paid on multiple levels. We can meet people where they're at on multiple levels. And then we can also produce in a way that like sometimes your book feels static, right? You put it out and then you're like, oh, that's it. But what if it got to keep living and breathing and you could make changes as you go and people could access it at that current time? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is the hard thing about a book because it's like once it's done, it's done. And Russell and I, grappled with this because obviously a book about Substack is a book about Substack at that time. So it's like there will be things obviously that shift and change, like the economy will change, the essence of it all will change, like how it all feels will change and stuff like that. But we still think it's really relevant a year on. So that's really interesting to us. But we also said, oh, maybe we will do an update in 2 years' time, like we'll just see. But I know that the magazines that I have in my house, and it's not many, and magazines that are seasonal. So I really like this magazine called Breathe. I don't know whether you have it in the US. You probably do you? Oh,
I'm
it's
not
beautiful.
familiar. We
I'll have
probably
to
do.
send you a copy. It's gorgeous. So it's seasonal. It comes out monthly, but it's very seasonal. So if you keep it in a box and then come back to it, like all of the articles seem evergreen and it just feels like it's meeting you where you're at in that season, even though it's like 2, 3 years old. So I think there's something really beautiful around the curation of magazines in that way, in the way that they're meeting us as readers in a different way to hanging on to books. Because usually with books, I'm like, yeah, I might come back to that in 5 years' time, or I might be telling a friend about it and then just give it to a friend. So I do think there's something in the media of magazines and us like collecting them or stacking them for like the year after or something. Like, I just love it all. I just think it's so cute. And it definitely speaks to my inner child as well, because magazines were like one of the first ways that I understood writing. Aside from fiction, right? So it's like the first sort of foray into non-fiction work was in magazines. So yeah, very, very cool. So when are you launching this part of it, Megan, that people will be able to buy it from like directly from your Substack and from the Thrivecart URL that you've got?
Yeah, so I am hoping to do it for this month's edition. So I'm a little behind because of life stuff as it is.
Mm,
But so I'm deciding I'm either going to do a June, July, like I might just mix June and July together and have kind of a
yeah,
summer issue.
yeah.
Or at the end of this month, I'll come out with the next one. So then it'll just be the same as I've been doing it, where it just says like, here it is. And at the top, I was just going to say, and if you want to print it, click here, and then it'll take them to that checkout.
Beautiful. I love that. And so we'll dive in now to understanding a little bit more about your experience with what you do, because I know that you've got this beautiful connection with audio work, and that's how we connected as well. We've been on your podcast together, which I love doing. I love meeting you that way. And there's a beautiful confidence that you bring to audio and video that I think is really helpful for people to kind of observe, because like me, you're not showing up like super polished. You're showing up as you, and then with a level of confidence that that is okay. Like all of it is okay. Like we can show up and we can plan it all out, but we can also just show up and have conversation, which I adore. And I'm always encouraging people to try with audio and video because it does enable your Substack to grow 2.5 times faster. And that statistic is from Substack. So I feel like the way that you are online is very like feels like it's really similar to the way that I've wanted to be online, and I love that stuff. And when I was asking you a couple of weeks ago about how you're finding YouTube and how all of that's going, you had so much wisdom for me. I was just like, this is the best thing ever. So are you finding that you are having readers come over from watching your YouTube videos or connecting to you from website traffic? Can you see that? And are you looking at that stuff? How's all that feeling?
Yeah, totally. And I love when you get like, when you get the free subscriber or whatever subscriber notification in your email and it says, like, it just
Yeah.
clearly says where they come from. So
Mhm.
right now, that is, other than like the Substack app and ecosystem, that is the number one driver of me finding new people. I will say that like you and I are in the same boat in that mine is coming from very specifically one YouTube video that I did, which is telling people how to use Substack as a
Mhm.
creator.
Yeah.
And that has been really interesting because I posted that in October of last year, which this speaks to the power of like search engine, right? And focusing there on our content. I posted it in October. I named it like Create Your Way on Substack. Barely got any traction. I think by the end of the year, it was maybe 300 views. I changed it in January or February, and it was right when the TikTok change was happening to something more simple. And now it has 13,000 views. And so it's like that's the thing, right, with YouTube is it's that game of playing the search of the searchability. What are people looking for? I think at least at the beginning, I think when you have more followers and subscribers, that you can do a little bit more. But yeah, so that's been the number one driver for me is mostly that video. And now I've posted a couple more like Substack tutorials because I do have
Mhm.
that mini course. And I'm seeing now YouTube pushing me a bit more. Somebody the other day had said that they were served my video, who I know like tangentially. And and I think that's probably because now I have a couple Substack videos, so it probably knows to push me. So I think if you know your keyword and you're able to use that and start to gain some traction, people are just coming over and subscribing because that's part of my call to action off of YouTube is to come join the community over here. So I
Yeah.
messed with Pinterest and I know we've talked about Pinterest a lot and I did not see the same conversion, the same follow through. So
So it's been really interesting because when I speak to writers that are very visual, they're flying on Pinterest. They're getting loads of traffic from Pinterest to their Substack. It's incredible. And really high monthly views. And I'm just like, okay, that's fine. Like I could do some of this. And then every time I've tried with a VA, because I don't want to spend hours in Canva and I'm not amazing at design, it goes okay and it'll go up to like maybe 20K monthly views. But then as soon as you stop posting, it goes down. And when you look at the stats in Substack, it's only driving like a handful of subscribers.
yeah.
So it is tricky. I also had a lead magnet like through my email service provider that taught people a little bit about Substack. So like a get yourself set up in 5 days on Substack, which was, running people through. And then, the typical thing happens. Either they're interested and they stay subscribed or they unsubscribe. Some of them were joining the membership. So that was mainly through Pinterest, but also YouTube as well. So one of the things I think that multi hyphens can do and people who are interested in doing stuff on other platforms is have a unique link so you can actually track this stuff and exactly where that person is coming from. So some really interesting ways to try would be with coupons on Substack because you can obviously share that specific link only on YouTube or only on Pinterest. And maybe it offers people a 14-day free trial. Maybe it's a 30-day. Maybe it's a 10% off, like an incentive to try and get people over. And then you can be tracking, and I would do it for 3 months. So make sure you can get behind whatever that coupon is that you're doing. But it is helpful for us to be able to understand because we are only one person. And unless we're hiring a huge team, which I'm definitely not at that stage yet, I find it really difficult to work with other people. Like it's hard for me. I love working in partnership and collaboration, but having to manage people is literally one of my worst ones. So I need to sort of tread quite carefully with that. And then when you plug people in to do bits of work, it's like you can do it for like a month or two, but then it's like, it's not really doing that much. And this is like costing quite a lot. And so it's that whole balance, isn't it? Of if a creator touches something like Instagram Reels consistently for 90 days, and goes viral a couple of times, the influx of what happens to that creator who then has a Substack is massively impactful. If you outsource bits and bobs of your ecosystem to different people and just test the water a bit like I've been doing, you end up in a place of like semi mastery. So I definitely have mastered some bits of YouTube and what works and some bits of Pinterest, but it's not the return isn't really there. I feel like I may as well just be on Substack and like be doing all my gorgeous stuff, because I get obviously the people who are interested in Substack education and want to stay tethered to Sparkle. But then I also get the people who know that I do that work and want to read my behind the scenes, my business newsletter. So yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it all. I don't think I'm like neutral, I guess, but I do find it hard sometimes to think, is this really worth it? Like energetically. And if it is, like, which tab am I turning up more? Like, should I sit and record another YouTube video and try and get the title and the thumbnail like really smart so that it gets lots of views?
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, I think that's something that I've noticed too. So like I stopped with the effort of Pinterest because I had a VA doing it, and then she was amazing and we parted ways. Same reason, because it was not, I was just wasn't getting the ROI. And then I tried a few on my own and I just wasn't seeing the conversion. And I'm very much about like, we're moms, like I'm too tired to try to do more than what's not working.
Yeah.
And so kind of let that go. But when I was seeing the connection with YouTube, it was like, okay. And I'm enjoying that process of
Me
making the
too.
videos because I
Yeah.
make them like mini films.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say one thing that's come to my mind lately with YouTube that's interesting is like, that is helping support my mini courses business and all of
Mm-hmm.
that. It's very search based. It's, a bit more tutorial style. So then it also is like a different silo for me than with my Substack, right? Because that's like a little bit more different. It's a little bit more community, more prompting. And so that has been interesting to think about, like, what if I just focused more on Substack and like, comments and collaborations and things like that? Like, would that grow the Substack publication? And then maybe I view YouTube more as the place that helps my mini courses, and just kind of knowing, like, of course, where your audience is and how you're creating on that platform. Because I think now more than ever, what I'm noticing is creating for the platform is yielding me better results. So, like, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to do a YouTube, instead of having the most recent video I did, my most recent podcast, let's say, send to YouTube because it's a cool integration that Substack does, I don't
Mm-hmm.
really see a lot of good traction and views there. But when I
Mm-hmm.
create for YouTube specifically with an intent, and that's what it is, and then of course I do embed that and put that on Substack and, think about the SEO of the URL slug and all of that, that's great. And it gives people a place to land. But the traction that I've been getting when I post for my Substack audience versus my YouTube audience has been greater. And so then like that effort makes sense, right? So I think I've been thinking about that a lot lately of like, we always hear it, but then also we hear like, get it out there, right? And I just think I've been trying to be very intentional, especially with my time and effort, of how I'm showing up and doing less, but doing it very potently and deep.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I pull everything through to YouTube from Substack. So
Yeah.
the lives go through. The lives, because of the way they are portrait style, don't get very high views. But the podcasts, I put them out on YouTube first because I love the process of being able to like share that fresh energy with people. So it is one long video, unedited. It goes out on YouTube. I'll share it on a couple of social posts, and then I'll work with my editor to put the beautiful music and the intro and outro on. And then it feels like the podcast gets a new lease of life when I then put it out through Substack as a podcast. And I've played around with different processes around this, but I really like it, like I said, just because of that live energy. I also really like sharing some of the podcasts on LinkedIn as a post. So I don't do a huge amount on LinkedIn, but over the years, I've been really consciously like connecting to lots of writers, connecting to lots of people I've met in real life around this new career that I've forged for myself. And when I do, or I've done a podcast, there's something that happens that is very reassuring. So people think it's very brave. Like people from my old world think it's very brave that I'm podcasting. People from this new world are like, oh yeah, I forgot about you. Like you're doing a podcast, you're interviewing other writers. Like I'm interested in that. So these are the subtleties of like how long it takes to actually build up connection with people, right? Because I might do like one post on LinkedIn every month, say, like I don't do very many, but sometimes that post gets quite a lot of traction. And those names are people that I have seen on Substack, but they've perhaps never commented on my work, or we've never
Yeah.
connected in that way. And I think people do just use platforms in different ways. A lot of the time, the YouTube comments, I'm a bit like, whoa, all right, angry. Like, I'm literally doing like a lovely little screen share about Substack. And like, they're really angry about something. I'm like, what's the matter? So I'm a bit like, I don't have to respond here because I
Yeah.
will respond within my membership, and I will write a note and respond to the comments on notes because I'm speaking to my colleagues and having a lovely time. So I think there is something where we can really just own the space that we want to show up in and then what the community brings to that. Like I would never be I can't imagine myself sat there on YouTube thinking I'm going to have to reply to all the comments for engagement. I'm like, maybe if I get time. So I do think it's interesting, but I like the search engine element of both Pinterest and YouTube. And I think it's so interesting that you and I have had similar results. I would say to anyone listening, and please feel free to ask questions. If you are thinking about, creating more funnels for people to come into your Substack, there's a lot of subtlety for business owners and for positioning. Using the word Substack, obviously we educate about Substack, so it makes sense, but using the word Substack usually will put someone off because they don't know what it is. Like so much of the world don't know yet. So it's really about what you're offering, what you write about, what the community feels like, them understanding that they can subscribe for more. But I do think it is nice to do. And there's so many ways now. I was telling Megan I use something called vidIQ. So I pay for it and you plug it into your YouTube and it'll give you suggestions of titles to use. You can even tell it like, oh, these are the people that are quite similar, like doing quite similar work to what I'm doing. Like, what do you think? Like, what should I do? And so it makes it really aligned for people to move through the videos. And like Megan said, have one suggested. So it does seem amazing. And really, like, if I'm super, super honest, I got into it because my 10-year-old loves YouTube. And I just was like, I could do YouTube. And like, he thinks it's so cool that I've got 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube. Like, so good. And I'm like, oh, yeah, like, I did quite well. Like, maybe, might go up a bit. Um, so yeah, if you guys have got questions and you want to ask any, in terms of Megan's creative process and everything she said, or if you're wondering about where to share your Substack outside of Substack itself, or even within Substack, we're here for a little while. So if you do want to ask anything, feel free. I'm trying to get it up so I can read your questions
Yeah.
on the
Yeah,
desktop.
I've been watching.
Anyway,
I haven't seen questions yet. Michael did say, I
yeah,
think it
but
was Michael. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. One thing I wanted to say too, though, that I think is really important that you shared, Claire, is like just all of us remembering that it's what works for you. And so I think it's genius because you had shared with me one of the times we were talking that you specifically like to upload to YouTube also because of your internet connection and all of that.
yeah, yeah,
And to me, I was like, that's genius. You have a whole community of people. Why not get the views so then you can also get monetization? Because it takes like you would be surprised at all it takes to get monetized. Like I'm not monetized on YouTube yet. It takes so many markers that you have to hit of amount of views and amount of subscribers and all that. And so I think that that's genius. Like that's so smart because of the ecosystem you have and have created. And I think it's really cool when we can use these tools with the lens of what works for you and your ecosystem because I feel like we both feel this way of the online space can be very much like this is how you do it and this is how you find success. Like we could
mhm,
sit here and blanket statement say like you have to think about what the keyword is on YouTube and then be really smart about that and make your thumbnail and your title, and then we see other people pop off with tons of views and they've done none of that, right? Like we know
yeah,
that it's not one size fits all, but I just always like to say that like what worked for me with YouTube and what is working for me, A, works today, might not work tomorrow. B, doesn't work for Claire necessarily. You have a different way and a different marker for what success looks like for you on YouTube specifically. And obviously that applies everywhere. So I just felt like I always needed that and nobody said it. So I always like to make
yeah,
sure that's said in these spaces when we talk about
yeah.
platforms and stuff.
Yeah, I think, you and I are very clear on this. Like, I don't teach blueprints. Like, I'm teaching
Yeah.
people to get, like, to quiet the noise and get more intuitive with their own creative process, and then also to cultivate a creative practice. Like, I'm so passionate about individual creative practice, so it'll never be a blueprint or one size fits all. But I can definitely teach the journey that I've been on and the things that I figured out along the way. And for me, a game feels fun. Like, I feel like I'm almost monetized on YouTube, and like I've been working on that, right? And so it's like something quiet in the background. Like it's not a super big deal, but it would be so cool if it happened. So I think it's like I need like I've been watching the little ticker, so I think I need like 400 more views a month because it needs to be
Mhm.
consistent, and then it'll be there. But it's gone from like nowhere near to like you're halfway to your 2/3. So it's like it is cool. Like I'm like, oh, that's quite cool. Why not? And I think I want to figure that out so that I have that knowledge and that I can share that with other people. I'm really passionate about women, especially mothers, being able to earn through diverse income streams and multiple income streams that don't take away from us being able to like be with our family. So it made sense to just give it energy and figure it out. So I think there are a couple of cute questions about your magazine, Megan.
Yeah.
One, how many pages is in your magazine? Um, and also, do you do it quarterly? Because Mary Beth must have missed that when we were chatting about that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So there ends up being right now about 24 pages. The back of it, so to print on Canva, I think you needed 24. And so
Okay.
what shows up online is not that much. So I added, just for my reference as well, each of the covers over the course of doing it with the QR code. And then that way, A, I needed to be able to have more pages. And B, I thought it would be nice if I was flipping through one, or if a reader is, then they could kind of go to the next, right? Kind of like the Amazon suggestion.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then I don't do it quarterly. I do it every month, because all I do is take whatever I wrote that month. I do what I wrote, and then I also do the notes that I shared, because I like to use notes as like a marker. Like when I'm reading something, I'll take a clip from it, or and so I also have the notes in there, and then I have some pages like here has, like a kind of like my own ad for anything I have to offer. So my mini
Nice.
courses or my consulting or things like that. So yeah,
Mhm.
those are kind of the basics of the pages.
I love it. Do you just want to show it like one more time? Because I know there's a few
Yeah.
people like popped in. So this is Megan's, if you are new to the live, this is Megan's magazine that she creates from our Substack writing in Canva. And then she prints it from Canva, but she's found a way to do print on demand. So she's going to do that. Megan loves the visuals. So she's very good at it. She loves it. Like she's had a lovely time designing this. And I just thought it was such a cool idea. I do the odd PDF that a VA does for me, and I do think about it as a piece of print. Like I know lots of people won't print them, but I think there is something really special for us writers about physically having something in our hands, whether that's to read or to sort of journal on and things like that. So I do think it is, yeah, it is just really beautiful. Okay, so Alex is asking some questions, and you don't have to answer this, Megan, but he's
No,
curious
I'm
about
happy to share.
the margin on the printed magazines,
Yeah.
profit per sale, how much they cost to print, how much do you sell them for? Like, what's all that looking like if you want to?
Yeah, I'm happy to share. Yeah. So I've set this up in Lulu. I haven't offered this yet. That's going to be like next month. But when I was doing all the setup, it looked like I'm probably going to end up charging around $20 to the end
Mhm,
person. And
mhm,
I think the cost for shipping and whatever Lulu takes, I think was around $7 or $9. It depended on whether it was US, UK. So I think I'll walk away with about, somewhere around $7 to $9 as well, depending on where I price it. Again, I'm looking at like, I rather my person get what they need, because also, if you think about, you're subsidizing, it's like another marketing thing, right? If I get to meet them where they're at, they have an access to paid articles, and then also whatever else I offer. So yeah, I'm not really looking at it as like a super money making activity, but I'm not going to come out in a negative. When I print it
mhm.
myself, just like I print it for myself through Canva, it's $21 here in the US.
Yeah,
And I'm just paying that because I want it, not
yeah,
because of anything else.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think
So if you have more
it,
questions on that, yeah.
it's really helpful to work out the margins for sure, but it can never be just a black and white money piece. I don't think when we're creating something as beautiful as this, like I find that even with emails, like the email will be about one thing, but someone will reply and be like, "Can I book a consult with you?" Or, "Do you have a growth package?" And I haven't even mentioned that in the email. So I think especially the tangible, like, so the things that I get sent through the post. So I'll get the odd book sent. My friend Sarah sends me zines every month because I pay for their Substack. And I do think there is something so special about your day being interrupted with mail in the US. I just think it is so special. And it is like a work of art. Like we have such a gorgeous relationship with our postie. She's called Pauline. Like we chat about plants. Like often we're sat out the front when she
Oh,
comes. Like she brought us a begonia tree. Like she's just so lovely, and we just know her. And then she hands over like a beautiful thing that's usually like something lovely that I've ordered from a creator, and I just think the whole thing's gorgeous. So having something in your house, and then also seeing what Megan's got on offer within the magazine, like other offers that she offers, but also passing that on, because I think there was a magazine that I used to get religiously. It was called the Positive Wellbeing Zine for Mums, and I used to get it every month. And it was all articles from other mums about how they're making creative life work and well-being work. I don't know whether Emma still does it. Actually, I kind of stopped getting them after Luna grew up a bit, but it was so beautiful to receive that. And I think there is something so nice about developing that depth of connection with our online readers, because they are all real people, like sat in the house. And like this week, I've just met loads of them in London at the Substack party, and it was totally gorgeous. Like what a beautiful thing. You feel like you know people. You don't know them, but you feel like you do. And then when you see
Right.
them, there's already a depth of connection that's been built up. So, so nice.
Yeah. Well, and I think the cool thing too about, I mean, obviously just making it, even if it's digital, and then the act of printing it too, is just like the storytelling in having the visual and the pictures. Like, I very specifically pick which pictures I'm going to use. Even like when we did our podcast and I made it the whole blog post, I went through and I wanted to find the pictures that you had that really help continue to tell your story. And so I think that's like a just really special added layer that we get to have. Like our writing can be even more. Like I'm a very, as we talked about, visual person, video person. And so it's like kind of a way to make your story into like a movie, if you will, just by adding the visuals and then, yeah, and then the deeper connection, right? Because if you can use your own images, then you see that person and you maybe see their family life, or you see little things or maybe similar poses time after time again. And I think there's just, yeah, like you said, something special to connect us even more. And then when you're holding it physically, it's just different.
It is. And I think, the photography that I choose, especially on Creatively Conscious, but also on Sparkle, like I have thought about it, like I've thought about what that photograph might evoke in people. Like I've thought about whether it's something slightly on the more personal side or whether it's like more on social proof or whatever it is. And I do think it can really transport people into the world with us, like they might be building up that
Mhm.
picture of us, and then all of a sudden that picture that they had is like knocked over here because they didn't know about this element. Like, I don't know, like they thought we were a coffee drinker, and then there we are with a herbal tea in the garden. I don't know. But like there's so much, isn't there? There's so much that we can do. I always think about it like the scene in Mary Poppins, the original, when they jump into the London chalk paintings, and like there's this whole fairground world behind it all. I'm just like, that's what it feels like to me, genuinely, like working online, like everything building over the 3 years, and the friendships that I've been able to make through just meeting people online that I have a shared value set with and also feel really creative with and collaborate with. So I think on Substack that does feel a bit easier. It feels easier to deepen connection, and that can just be very rewarding as a creator. To feel like you are not alone in doing all of this work, and you can be braver with your choices as well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a special ecosystem here for sure. And like the intentionality, I feel like most people come to it with and what we're looking for, like we're all craving that longer form, that deeper connection. And yeah, I just think that's what's special and why the magazine concept, whether it's digital or printed, feels really special too, is it's just a different connection point.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, guys. Well, we will leave it there, but go and head over to Megan's Substack and you'll be able to see exactly what she's talking about if you've missed any of this around the digital magazine. And then you can keep an eye on how it all goes with announcements to get your own print copy wherever you are in the world, which just feels wild, but so cool. So I'll definitely be ordering. I can't wait to have that on our coffee
Oh,
table and to sit and have a little cup of tea. I really like bringing the kids into it as well. So like I've started to speak to my children more about creative careers because you realize that it's sort of etched out of the curriculum. So when I do have a new book come or like something happens that is part of my creative world, like I'm really conscious to speak to them about it. So I think if you are in that space where you want your spouse or friends or kids to like understand more about why we're so passionate about this work for ourselves, that can be really beautiful too. Um,
yeah.
Gorgeous. Okay, well, I'll go get some lunch and then I'm gonna go down to the city tonight with my son. We're gonna go and see, it's like an extract of Strictly Come Dancing. Again, you might not have heard of this, but it's like a UK show and it's all glitz and glamour. And there's this really incredible dancer that is going to be doing like a meet and greet, and I managed to get some like publishing tickets through a bookshop friend. So I'm going to go and do that
I
tonight. So that'll be
love
so
it.
fun.
Ah, have so much fun.
Oh, it's going to be so nice. We're going to stay in a hotel, me and my son. And I just said to him, "Do you want one with a swimming pool or one without a swimming pool that's closer?" And he was like, "I'll go for the swimming pool, Mum." So
Of course.
that's what we're going to do. So we can have a little bit of city-based time. And I love to do that. Like, I love living here and everything being quiet, but I love to plug back into city life now and again. So I hope you all have a gorgeous weekend, whatever you're doing. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you, Megan, for being so generous with your creative concepts and sharing so much about your process and how everything's working. It's been beautiful.
Thank you for having me and have so much fun tonight. It sounds like a blast.
I know it's going to be really good. Thanks,
Yeah.
Megan. See you
Bye.
soon. Bye.